All right, and let me go ahead and get folks checked in. So let's see, we have someone under the name of Tim. Tim, if you could unmute, let me know your full name, who you're representing here today.
Sure. Timothy Hoskins. I'm representing First Financial Bank.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
See that we have Kate Meehan from the zoning department. Welcome, Kate.
Thanks.
And Jeff Hartley.
Good morning, Jeff Hartley, First Financial Bank.
All right. On the applicant owner side, are we expecting anyone else to join us here today for the hearing?
Jeff, I don't think so, no. Unless Jeff has someone.
No, we're all set.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started then. I need to read through our hearing script. This will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll jump into it. So this is the August 2nd, 2023 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. The case before us today is case number ZH20230119. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent first present the applicant's case. If we did have anyone here for the public, they'd have an opportunity to speak after the applicant had presented its case. I'll allow Kate Meehan from the zoning department to provide any testimony in addition to her staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. So again, for our purposes here today, I'll allow either Mr. Haskins or Mr. Hartley, one or both of you can tell me about the project, any background you think is important, why you think I should grant the requested relief. I'll hear from Kate. I'll have some questions along the way. I'll allow you guys to make any closing statements, and then we'll adjourn. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, the last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, doing anything other than just strictly observing, then the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if that's you, if you can make sure you're off mute, raise your right hand. I need everyone to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do.
Great. Thanks, everyone. All right. Any questions about the process or procedure for this? You guys ready to go? Okay.
So
Who's going to be taking the lead for us
David,
here?
you're going to take this all back, and we would hear a decision, you say, within 2 weeks. Is that correct?
Yeah. So typically my written decisions, which are what you need to move forward and what Kate needs to see to approve the zoning permit, typically takes about 2 weeks. Sometimes it's a little quicker than that. During times where it's really busy here, it can be a touch longer, but I would estimate right now that is about right based on the amount of applications that we have. Our summers do tend to get a little busier with like outdoor projects, particularly for residences. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sure. Who's going to be taking the lead for us here today?
You want to go ahead, Tim?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to correct the error I made on my original sign permit application in April. I incorrectly included the total building width along Reading Road as to acquire the correct amount of sign square footage. And for that, I do apologize. At the time, I was not aware of multiple tenants in the space. So that's why we are over, as Kate mentioned, we're over square footage. So that being said, we would still like to proceed with additional signage on the south elevation to mark the entrance of the community space known as First Financial Community. It's a non-illuminated sign on the south elevation. It's plastic letters, stud mounted. And it has a directional sign below that in the blue area. If you see that, David, on the drawings, it says a First Financial Community.
Yeah, and so let me just real quick make sure that I'm properly oriented here, and I have Kate's staff
can-
report up, but I can do the drawings.
We can share some.
Yeah,
You
that'd be
want to
great.
share? We can share.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
So we're all looking at the same thing. But to be clear, I have the requested relief today as a locational variance to allow a wall sign on the south wall of the building,
Correct.
where there's no street frontage. And then I have a dimensional variance of 36.8 square feet to allow 2 wall signs on that south elevation where no signage is permitted. Is that the correct relief you're
Yes.
requesting? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify why it was, why we were over square footage in the first place.
Okay.
So everybody can see, I've got the Google image.
Yep.
Up on the
Yep. We can
screen.
see that.
Very good. Okay. So south facing, this is McDonald's, got Reading Road, and so we are requesting a variance for signage. It's in the rear of the building. I would say the rear, so the most eastern end of the south elevation. Is that correct, Tim?
Yes.
And this entry point into this space is for the community. It's a meeting room. It will have audio visual, large conference room table, chairs, and it's available to anyone in the community. You don't necessarily have to be a client of the bank. This would be open during regular business hours and just simply needs to be reserved. The main entrance to the bank, the full service bank, would be along the western elevation. And we do have permitted building sign for that already.
Okay. So let's see. The 2 signs. Do you have renderings? I see one image in the staff report here.
Yes.
Do you have proposals of what you're trying to put on that south elevation?
And let me. So this is on the
West.
western elevation. And then we have this is what we are going for the variant, this branded sign right here.
Okay.
It's-
And where will that be located on the south elevation?
So this, can you see my hand here?
I can, yep.
So this is going toward Reading Road. McDonald's is behind us. The rest of the shopping center is to the right. So this is the entry point into that space, the community space. And so the sign is going on that eastern end of the south elevation.
Gotcha. Okay, so on the side, is the door location going to be the same as what it was with True Value? Like, how much of an exterior renovation is happening? Because I'm sort of looking at the street view over here.
Yes, I'll switch to that. Yeah, so True Values entry was here. the entry to the community space will be further back.
Gotcha.
And then we have an entry to the full service bank about right here. So we're taking roughly a third of the building. And then we hope to find a tenant for the northern portion.
Got it. Okay. All right. And so, yeah, is it the First Financial, the two signs on the right of the screen there, are those what make up the 36 or so square feet that you're proposing, or is the yellow portion included in that calculation? And maybe
No.
Kate, you could answer that.
No, it's not the yellow, it's just the letters only.
Okay.
Right, it's the letters only, it's not the entire, because we kind of see some of that as like panels that are part of the building. So it is just the lettering that we're counting.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And I would say we're treating a First Financial community as wayfinding to that community space. This is what if we have space, buildings or lease space with community rooms, we try to designate, we have welcome in similar lettering at the entry to the banking center. And so therefore this separate entry has its own lettering. I'm asking that be treated as wayfinding.
Okay.
And we have these in several locations too, David, at 4th and Vine. They just put one in a couple of years ago. Also, Walnut Hills has a community room. So they're trending in that direction in a lot of areas
Okay.
in the banking system.
Gotcha. So yeah, so why do you think that these signs are appropriate here? Do you just think there's inadequate signage on the property for folks to be able to locate the bank? I see there's an existing ground sign out here. I assume that you'll be taking advantage of that for the First Financial as well, right?
But that ground sign no longer there. We're in the packet. I don't know if you have that.
I've got everything.
Okay, there is a proposed ground sign going to be installed. If you could show them where that is, I'm on my iPad, so I don't have access. If you could show them, Jeff.
Correct. So the entry point, David, to our site will be right through here.
Yeah.
And there will be we've modified this landscaped area to be a bit larger, and so therefore we do have a proposed pylon sign here right at the entry.
Mm-hmm.
I think our primary reason for the sign along the south is, although this isn't a designated roadway, it is highly trafficked. Patrons of the McDonald's and all of these retail stores in the back. This is the primary entry and exit. So it's almost a major artery. And so we feel it's important to call attention to this separate entry point to the community space.
Okay.
We almost see it as it's almost frontage, although it's not, like I said, it's not a designated roadway.
Got it. Okay. Just so I'm clear, did you say that on the west side there will be another entrance, or the main entrance to the bank? Is that right? Or will that be a separate tenant?
So that we will have a separate entry. So this elevation faces Reading. And so to the left is the rest of the tenant space. It's about an 8,000 square foot building. We're taking roughly 3,000 of the 8,000. And so at, if I can switch back here. So basically this corner, David, is where our space from here to the back.
Got it. And will there be signage on the west side as well, where you just had your cursor?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it right there.
That's what we have designated for the west. Correct.
Got it.
And that will be compliant. That is,
Okay. Yeah. So that'll be compliant. Then you'll have a ground sign, the pylon sign that's compliant, and then you're asking for additional relief.
yeah,
Or you're asking for relief for additional signage for that southeastern signage. Got it.
correct.
Okay. Okay. And you think that just the traffic coming in and out of this shopping development is busy enough where it essentially that south side will essentially act as frontage and will be important for wayfinding for cars that are moving in and out of that throughway there between the parking lot and the shopping center there.
Not unlike, True Value, although they had one primary end, but you see they put all their signage along that roadway because it is, that was their entry, but it is highly trafficked, highly visible. And it does to kind of separate the two entry points for the two uses of our space, I think is important.
Gotcha. Okay. Anything else you guys would like to tell me about the project, or any other reasons why you think I should grant this?
Just to give a little background, David, we do have an existing full service banking center just up the road, just north on Reading. We've made a pretty significant investment to purchase this property and improve it. We like where the trend is going. We see some positive activity in this area, and we're excited about relocating our banking center and having a nice new shiny space. We're excited.
Okay. All right. Great. Let's go ahead. Let's give Kate, if Kate would like to weigh in here. Floor is yours.
Yes. So for the signage on the west elevation, which is the street facing, as Tim mentioned, when this first came in, we were under the impression that the entire building was being used for the banking center. And then later he did clarify that it is, and when the application materials came in for the hearing, it was clarified that the bank will only use a portion of the building. So at this point, they have 76.52 square feet of signage that has been permitted. That is over the 65 square feet of signage. Their storefront on the west elevation is 32.5 linear feet, so they're allowed 65 square feet of signage in the CGA zoning district. So because this has already been permitted, though, they are allowed to keep it. Although in discussion with Mr. Hoskins, it does seem like they're going to reduce the size of the wall sign here on the west elevation so that it is compliant. So the wall sign and ground sign together will then be compliant at 65 square feet on this west elevation, which is what is allowed. We consider the welcome sign to be like a wayfinding or directional, so we do not count that as that's considered an exempt sign. But then on the south elevation, where they're also doing the First Financial Bank and the First Financial Community, for that, we count both of those as wall signs. We're not counting the smaller one that says First Financial Community as a exempt sign. So we are counting that as a additional sign on this elevation. So the two signs on the south elevation then would total 36.8 square feet, which is, and we are just counting the letters. We're not counting the entire background. So this is for the lettering. We're counting that as the sign face, but it's still over the maximum square footage of signage that is allowed at this location. And then also with the ground sign, which we feel will be a pretty prominent sign that will be seen by patrons coming from, either side of Reading Road. We feel like that is a pretty prominent, locational sign here for the bank. Also with the color, it would be pretty noticeable coming down Reading Road. So we do not, as staff, recommend the approval of additional signage because we feel the signage that's there is certainly appropriate and will, be very noticeable to patrons coming down Reading Road or, from distances farther away. And the maximum total signage area has already been exceeded here. So those were our findings.
Gotcha. Okay. So if, okay. So the recommendation from the zoning department is to not allow any additional signage of any kind on that south elevation because of the signage on the west and the ground sign. Is that right?
Correct. I mean, they could do something on the south elevation that would be like an exempt sign. Like I think they could put a sign in the door. I think we would count that as like a window sign. If there was some kind of an exempt sign directing people to this community room, I think we would be okay with that, but not for the additional wall signage that's proposed.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thanks, Kate. Anything else?
No, I think those are all my comments. So thank you.
Sure. Okay. Mr. Haskins or Hoskins or Hartley? Anything you want to say in response to that or any comments?
Just a quick clarification at the end. Kate had indicated that we have already exceeded the allowable signage. I just want to make sure that what we intend to submit for the south elevate, or I'm sorry, for the west elevation, we will come into compliance for that. So we will not be exceeding the allowable when all is said and done.
Yeah.
Jeff, doesn't that have a separate curb cut down along the drive into the shopping center? Isn't there a separate curb cut into the community room area?
Well, this is, let's see.
I thought I saw that last time. Yeah, isn't there another curb cut down there in front of the proposed community room? Or is there just one entrance?
This really won't change here.
Okay.
Because we're not putting additional curbing. So this
Oh,
will be,
okay.
asphalt. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We will have designated spaces, parking spaces about where these cars are parked.
Okay.
But it will be all, it's just, we designated with striping, so.
And what are the hours of this community room? Jeff?
Not 9 to 5, 9 to 6.
Okay. So it's after business hours, the banking hours usually.
It is not. No, it falls.
Oh, it falls in with banking hours. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
9 to 5 or 9 to 6. Yes.
Anything else from the applicants or owners on this that you'd like to? I mean, do you think this is compatible with the neighborhood? I mean, is there existing signage or
I did
any other
notice,
properties that enjoy similar signage?
I did notice McDonald's to the south has, but I don't know how long that's been there, and I'm sure that was under the old ordinance. But they do have some branding on the south elevation of their building. But again, I don't know how current that, how long that's been there.
Sure.
Same
Okay.
way up, if you look at the gas station up there too, there's some.
Yeah, I'm trying, I don't know if the regulations are the same. Help me out with the cross street here. Does somebody know?
It's
I think that's East Seymour.
See,
Yes.
okay, thanks,
Yes.
Kate. I'm not sure what I guess I could drive up here a little bit to see what the Fifth Third has in terms of. Yeah, looks like it's taken a little extra time to get there, but
Yeah, I can see it. It looks like they may have some non-street frontage signage as well.
yeah, looks like one there.
Okay. Any other comments or testimony you guys would like to?
Yeah, lastly, I would just say, we had moved forward with the design based on our typical building elements, and we typically have two signs, one at the entry like we have today at this space, and then one in a similar position that we show it for the on the south elevation. So we had planned, we've got lights figured, and it sits a little higher than the rest of the building. So selfishly, it would just look a little odd if something wasn't on the face of that south elevation architecture.
Gotcha. And yeah, I mean, I noticed in the staff report that they suggested that maybe reducing the signage on that west elevation.
Yes, which is what we alluded to. I think Triangle Sign had inadvertently calculated incorrectly on the permitted sign along the west. So we are going to go back and reduce that and come into compliance.
Kate, is that what you were suggesting in the staff report?
So they are planning to, in the revision here, reduce the size of the wall sign here. So then they will have 65 square feet of signage along Reading Road, which is what is permitted and what would be compliant. So yes, they will be compliant then with the signage. However, they're still asking for the additional 36.8 on the south side, which is still over the maximum 65 square feet that's allowed. So I think, our suggestion was maybe that, since there's a ground sign, maybe they didn't have the First Financial Bank wall sign here, but instead they shifted it to the south elevation, because then they would be under their square footage on the west elevation, the street facing, and then they would have some additional square footage they could make up for a sign on the south elevation. But they are proposing 65 square feet on this west elevation, and that is the total maximum sign area allowed per the code. So the additional signs on the south are still over the allotted amount.
For the entire building.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So anything else from the applicant or owner before we adjourn here today?
Time.
I'm sorry.
I appreciate your, Kate,
Oh.
and your time this morning.
Yep. Thank
Sure.
you so much.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
too. You too.
Yeah, so let's leave it at that then. I'm just going to take a closer look at all the materials and just make sure that I've reviewed all the drawings and renderings here before I render an official decision. Like we discussed at the beginning of the hearing, I will have that to you within 2 weeks. And the written decision is what, again, if approved, Kate will need to okay the zoning permit. If it's not approved, there's a 30-day appeal period if you'd like this to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals. If you have any questions about that or anything else between now and 2 weeks, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. Also, if you just like a status update on the decision, I'm happy to provide that to you as well. But as soon as I finish these decisions, I put them into a PDF and I email them to everybody who's in the hearing here today. So you guys will have them really just moments after it's complete. Yeah, I think that's it. Any questions about any of this today?
Great.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it, David.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.